Miss Pettit is on there. Okay, we're gonna get started here. I call this meeting of the Sawyer County Zoning Committee hereby called to order at 8:30. Kathy, let's do a roll call.
Ron,
Present.
Bruce,
Here.
Dawn. Dawn, Troy,
Here.
What's wrong with
Jesse.
Troy? Laryngitis?
Tweet.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
Pretty much, Bruce.
Oh my. Oh, honey.
What did you say? Oh,
With that.
all right, Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, statement of committee and hearing procedures. The full statement of this committee and the hearing procedure document, including directions for individuals wishing to speak at the public hearing to be conducted at this zoning committee meeting, are available in the front of this room next to the agenda for today's meeting. The statement of committee and hearing procedure document is hereby incorporated into the record for this committee meeting. Statement of hearing notice. Any public hearing conducted at today's committee meeting has been published as a Class 2 notice in accordance with Chapter 985 of the Wisconsin statutes in the Sawyer County Record and the Sawyer County Gazette and posted. Approval of the minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes, September 18th minutes.
I'll move to approve the September minutes as distributed.
Okay,
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh,
All opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. Please note, comment time is intended for general public comments, not comments relating to specific applications before this committee. Each agenda item requiring a public hearing will have its public hearings conducted just prior to the application being considered by this committee. If you wish to speak on a specific agenda item, we encourage you to hold your comments that specific public hearing. Okay.
Yeah, I will just mention that Dawn is back with us. Dawn, if you can just state for the record that you are present for the meeting. Dawn, if you can unmute yourself and just say that you're present for the meeting. Well, she is on. I see her online.
Okay.
I do have one hearing appearance slip for public comment. That is for Linda Zillmer with comments of the bylaws and procedures, voting and participation by members and alternate only if needed. The zoning committee members can act as a quorum, and then procedures of the agenda application materials posted at publication. Agenda with staff comments posted 1 week before the hearing.
Linda, do you want to comment on that now? Go ahead.
Linda Zilmer, 902 Holly Hill Lane, Birchwood, Wisconsin, Edgewater property owner. And my comments this morning are for your consideration at a future meeting to address issues in regarding your bylaws as well as procedures. And it's largely out of observing the September zoning public hearing. And before I get into that, I guess too, I wanted to comment on the opportunity for zoning committee members, both experienced and new, to take advantage of the webinars that UW-Stevens Point Center for Land Use Education have been holding. And you can view them at your pleasure. The one on conditional use permits was very good and would have been very relevant and have this last month's campground issue come forward. The reason I'm had the two, can I get my hearing slip back in my phone?
Dawn, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. And we're just indicating that you are present here for the meeting, then, correct?
Yes.
The first item about voting and participation by members, alternate if needed. In the past, when we had more continuity in the zoning committee, it was pretty much understood that if you were an alternate and the full other, the regular 5 members were present, and you weren't needed because of a conflict of interest, you didn't participate and you didn't vote. So, and that was standard practice. And then over the last couple of terms, as new people came on, it got into a situation of where people started participating. And I can understand the frustration that if you're there and you want to ask a question, even though you're not going to vote, what can you do? I know statutes regarding the zoning committee aren't applicable to our form of government, but there are also statutes that are applicable to the Board of Appeals that would require the alternate to not participate. And so like last month, matter after matter, you had 6 people participating and 6 people voting. So under the scenario that that campground thing had gone forward and you had a split vote of 3-3, then it's like you don't want to consider that after the fact. So my intentions are good in raising that, and also bringing up something I've raised in the past, that only zoning committee members and the alternate can act. If you don't have a quorum, then really that hearing should be scheduled, and I'm asking for that consideration in the bylaws going forward so that you have experienced people making these decisions. And then for procedures, it was also brought to light last month when I watched the Bass Lake Plan Commission meeting on the campground, that commissioners were giving advice to the public that all this application of material was on the county website, and in reality, what has been happening because of the, kind of the burden of trying to upload all this information, the zoning matters haven't been uploaded until about a week before the public hearing, which means that those decisions at the town level, the public really doesn't have the ability to see anything. So I would request that you do a schedule, with some requirements. I don't think they're bylaw requirements, but more procedural, to make sure that there is something out there for the public to see before the town decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't do a comment back on a public comment, but I would like to bring this up because we're talking about it. As the alternate, this was brought up before, and I brought this up to Rebecca, participating in when we have a quorum. And I guess I was told that we couldn't do that if we have a quorum. Rebecca, can you comment some more on that, please?
Sure.
So everybody's understands what's going on here.
Yep. First of all, the statutory reference that Jay had forwarded to me, that Linda had forwarded from Lynn Markham, doesn't apply because we're not under that form of government. There are, when you look at the words of the statute, of course, there's statutory provisions that apply under the county administrator form of government. But the specific statute that Linda referenced is not correct because it doesn't apply. Second of all, the alternate voting last month, that was my mistake. I didn't realize that we did have 6 people voting. So that was my error for not catching that. In terms of participation, I think given the pattern of participation, I think it is appropriate for the alternate to ask questions. We have members of the public participating. Why wouldn't we allow our alternate to ask questions? So I do think that under these circumstances, that is fine. But yes, if there are 5 members here, the alternate should not be voting.
Voting, okay.
If there are, of course, if there's 4, you can have the alternate vote. There is one, I don't want to say exception, but the fact that our alternate is the chair of the board does put a different twist on things. Because under the board rules, the chairman can sit on any standing committee. So if that's something that this committee would like me to look at, I can certainly do so. But it's an interesting interplay, and it would be, we'd have to look at multiple sections of the board rules, and then come up with a recommendation. So if that's something you would like me to look at, I'm happy to do that.
I would like you to look at that, and me, myself, I don't know what the other committee members figure, but I figure if we have a quorum, we do not need the alternates vote. I guess I would be okay with them asking questions, and they should be able to ask questions because that's the alternate, and they need to find out as much as we do what's going on with different things.
Well, now a quorum would only be 3 though.
Yes, so that's
So
a
be careful when
different
you
issue.
say the word quorum, because if you have yourself, Bruce, and Troy, you have a quorum.
So
Now,
the,
would you want Tweed participating when you only have 3 members?
Well, I thought we always did that. If we only had 3 or whatever, the alternate sat in.
Right.
So we had,
A quorum's not 5, a quorum would be 3.
okay, well, then I'm saying that wrong. I apologize.
so if there's 4, let's just say, for example, Bruce is not here one day. So you've got 4, Twee would then step into Bruce's chair and participate and vote.
Okay. Right.
So it doesn't need to-
So I just need to leave the quorum out. I apologize for that, so.
And so, as today, we do not have Jesse.
So Tweed is voting, correct. And I think, I mean, I don't want to make excuses, but I think the fact that have some people virtual is what threw me off about the 6th. So
Right,
again,
and-
that's my mistake.
And that there was at one point where there was a member that ended up leaving halfway
Yeah.
during the meeting
Yeah.
as well.
Okay.
Well, and then the meeting before that, we've kept losing people.
Yeah, yeah.
And I guess that's kind of the new reality of a virtual
Right,
meeting
yeah,
world.
right.
So,
Troy, you had
Yeah,
your
we'll
hand
work
up
with
there. Did you want to comment on that at all?
No, someone already brought it up.
Okay.
Thanks, Jay.
Anything else on that matter?
No, I guess I'm good with it.
Okay,
So,
moving on.
well, wait a minute, you are gonna look that up.
I will look at
Okay,
that, yeah, and we can, Tweed, let's talk offline too.
Right.
You know,
okay.
because again, it's an interesting legal issue because we've got, again, the different overlay. So, you know, I won't spend a lot of time on this, but I'll do an initial look at it, and then we can talk about
And my thought,
options and so
my
forth.
thought is too, that if he's county board chairman, the committee he sits on, he should have the right to speak his piece.
Oh, absolutely a right to speak. Absolutely. The interesting part is because Tweed is chair of the board, can he be an additional member and then vote as the 6th? Because the board policies say that this zoning committee is made up of 5, but there's also provisions that say the board chair can sit. So does that then override the 5-member rule? So again, it's an interesting issue that, you know,
Yes.
I'll take a initial look at,
yeah,
and then
okay.
we'll go from there.
All right. Now we're done, Jake.
Okay. No rezone applications this month. Conditional use permit application with public hearing, the Tower Sand Lake, CUP 20-017, owner Nico Jeanette and Nancy Gorski. Victory Heights Circle, original plat, lots 3 through 5, block 5, section 3, township 39 north, Range 9 West, parcel 0261790503000, 1.992 total acres, zone residential recreational 1. Permit is desired for an accessory building across Town Road, Victory Heights Circle, from the principal dwelling for a 50 by 80 in size. Sawyer County zoning ordinance section 4.26, parent 2, construction of a single accessory building on adjacent parcel divided by a public roadway that does not contain the principal structure. The applicant has requested postponing this discussion action until the November zoning committee meeting. I would also then end up holding another public hearing on this. It was discovered after publications had gone out that their proposed request could not be heard as just a conditional use permit, and that we've actually changed the zoning ordinance that within a platted subdivision, the maximum size for an accessory structure across a town road would be 1,200 square feet. So either they would need to be approved a conditional use permit as well as then apply for a variance to exceed the size limitation, or they will need to amend their application or entirely withdraw their request. At this point, they are wishing to postpone any discussion action because it has been published as a legal document for a public hearing. And legal counsel can correct me if I'm wrong, we would still hold a public hearing and then take a discussion action and hopefully that time to postpone that action until next month, where again, we would hold another separate public hearing on this matter. If you'd like me to read any of the additional comments in the record at this point, I certainly can. But again, I'm kind of setting up for having this be postponed until next month.
Right, yeah, I'd make a motion to postpone consideration of this application and just postpone it because we don't know when he's gonna come back to it. There's no date certain.
Well, we should postpone until date certain. I kind of gave the applicants that you need to, I told the applicant, you need to decide by November's meeting if you're going to try this request with a variance on top of it, or if you are going to amend this application or fully withdraw it, because I don't want to have this sitting out there.
Right, okay, well, my motion then would be to postpone to the November zoning committee meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to postpone. And
Second.
Okay, Troy said.
Troy seconded it.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to postpone. CUP number 20-017. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed, motion carries. I just got one question. When we postponed this, we should have opened it up into a public hearing, right? Or can we just go ahead and do that? I thought we had to open that up to the public hearing to do that.
So okay, I just want to make sure I'm getting all this. And Jay's correct. We talked about this before last week.
Okay.
If the intent is to postpone, so 3A, yeah, 3A, then yes, you should open that up and then make your vote.
Make your vote, that's what I thought.
So I think you can just go back and do that.
Okay. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 20-017.
Okay, I'll move to go into public hearing on CUP 2017.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go into public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Okay.
Now we don't have to do anything with it.
You could ask if there's any comments on it.
Okay, is there any comments on it? Linda, you want to comment on it? Okay. All right,
And then just accepting the previous motion then at that point to postpone.
yes,
Right,
Does that cover it?
Oh, why don't you do it again?
okay.
okay.
I'll make the motion to postpone CUP application 2017 until the November meeting.
Troy, you want to second that?
Sure,
Thank you.
you bet. Do we need a motion to come out of public hearing?
Yes,
After you vote.
I so move.
Yeah,
we have to vote first, Troy.
Oh, sorry, I thought we already did.
I made you vote again, Troy.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, motion carries. Now you can do it, Troy.
All right, I'll move to come out of public hearing.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to come out of public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
All right, public hearing, Town of Edgewater, conditional use permit 20-018, owner Nicestones Resort LLC, part government lot 3, section 4, township 37 north, range 9 west, parcel 0089370453023.15 total acres, zone residential recreational 1. Also subdivision parts, government lots 1, 2, and 4, lot 24, and north 325 feet. Lot 25, section 4, township 37 north, range 9 west, parcel 0081300024000 and 00813002501, section 4, township 37 north, range 9 west. 0.570 acres and 0.91 total acres, both zoned residential recreational 1. Permit is desired for the Sawyer County zoning ordinance section 17.2, parent B, parent 15, a multi-dwelling development for an existing resort, adding one additional dwelling/rental unit. These lots would be combined by certified survey map. Dwelling would be 60 by 70, including decks and porches. Per the staff report, let me get to it here in the case though. Per the staff report, the applicant is requesting to build a 60 by 70 additional dwelling unit, including the decks and porches at an existing resort. This would be the 6th dwelling unit as part of the resort. When the applicant initially contacted Sawyer County zoning, they were advised that a new survey map of the property needed to be done. This information is then used to determine whether or not an additional dwelling unit could be added onto this property based upon the amount of shoreline frontage and overall land area. In order to install an additional dwelling unit, you would need a minimum of 100 feet of frontage and at least 20,000 square feet of land area. As per the survey map that is included within this packet, Sawyer County zoning determines that there is approximately 680 feet of frontage and over 200,000 square feet of land area. With this determination, the property would be allowed a 6th dwelling/rental unit as per the amount of frontage that would be needed in order to grant the conditional use permit for a multi-dwelling development. Again, as per section 17.2, parent B, parent 15, for a multi-dwelling development, it does require the grantal of the conditional use permit. There are several other outbuildings and accessory structures that are pre-existing on the structure or on this lot. Some of these existing structures may be encroachments within the town's public access road, but the owner slash applicant is addressing those concerns with the town. These encroachments should be viewed as a separate matter and not have merit on the granting or denial of the conditional use permit. The majority of these existing structures have been at their present location for the past 50+ years. As per some of the possible conditions that this committee should be viewing with potentials for approvals or denials, would be that a separate fire number must be obtained for the dwelling unit before the land use permit is issued, that a new certified survey map must be recorded with Sawyer County zoning to legally combine the 3 separate parcels into 1 parcel, and that all other setbacks and dimensional requirements, including sanitation requirements, federal, state, county, town, and local regulations be complied with, and that the potential size is not to exceed what the applicant has stated for a 60 by 70, including decks and porches. Per the town of Edgewater, the action for the conditional use permit was approved, signed Pete Bearfield, chairman, Scott Spade, supervisor, Bill Zimmerman, supervisor. There was no additional findings of facts or any comments for the town side, Natalie Clements, town clerk. There were 7 opinion letters sent out to the neighboring properties. 3 were returned, all with no objections. I have no objections. Donna Alsup I have no objections. James Staffer, Family Trust. I have no objections. I support. I'm the closest neighbor and have no objections. Craig Breeze. That is all.
One question, Jay, all that you was reading there, you would want that entered in on the motion, when it was one with me?
Right.
For possible conditions, yes, you should include that on a motion. I mean, that's really kind of the intent of a conditional use permit, is this committee set some of those unique conditions for this application.
Right.
And those are kind of at least my staff recommendations for possible conditions. Now, again, those are possible conditions. Now, this committee can add to that list if you think that there should be other merits that I may have not considered, or you can delete from those if you don't think that they are pertinent to this situation. But those are my staff recommendations.
I just want to make sure everybody's aware of this, so when we go into public hearing, that whoever makes a motion, that does happen, is aware of that, so.
Right, and you could use the simplified version. You could just say, motion to include the conditions that's presented in the staff report.
All right. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 20-018.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried. Is the owner on?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Okay, would you like to speak to the committee, sir?
Yes, can everyone hear me?
I can.
Okay, thank you for giving me a chance to speak. My name is John Nystrom. My family has owned Nystrom's Resort on Big Stack Lake since 1942. My wife and I are the fourth generation in my family to run the resort. We have just 5 cabins, so it's a very small resort. Currently, my wife and I live in one of those cabins and my mother lives in another. Her condition makes it necessary for us to live in the same cabin with her now. That's not practical in any of our current cabins. So we'd like to add a 4-season house that would be the main house where my wife and I and my mother would live. That would open up 2 more cabins for rent during the summer season, which would help make the resort more viable for the long term, which all of you understand is important for such a small resort, and also make it easier for family members to find a cabin available for their vacations. And currently, family members are finding it difficult to find a cabin open because we're almost completely full for June, July, and August next year. So we believe that if we can put up this cabin, it will not only help make the resort more viable, it'll also help us with our family situation, caring with my mom, and also help our family to be able to use the resort ourselves more. So those are the reasons we'd like to build that. And Jay has explained to me in detail what it's going to take for us to go through the permitting process, and we believe we'll be able to do that. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, committee, any questions for the applicant? Ms. Pettit? Mr. Morgan?
No.
Okay. Is there anybody out there is in favor of this public hearing? Anybody out there that's against the public hearing? Result or CUP, sorry. Okay, if not, you need a motion to go out of public hearing.
I'll move to go out of public hearing.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go out of public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed? Motion carried to go out of public hearing.
Discussion action, the town of Edgewater, CUP 20-018, owner Nystrom's Resort. Legal description is previously read into record. Permit is desired for Sawyer County Ordinance Section 17.2, Parent B, Parent 15, for a multi-dwelling development for an existing resort, for adding an additional dwelling/rental unit. Again, looking at any type of motions that would be added to potentially look at the list of potential conditions. That is all.
So
Okay,
I have a question. Jay, this conforms with all of our ordinances.
It does, yeah, and this, you don't see a lot of these in that in order to add this additional dwelling unit as part of the multi-dwelling development, you still need the minimum frontage as
Right.
well as square footage requirements. So if you had, 180-foot lot on Grindstone, and you wanted to add an additional dwelling unit, you couldn't do it because you don't meet the minimal dimensional requirements to install an additional dwelling unit. So not only would it take a variance to do something like that, it would also take the conditional use. In this case, the applicant does have the frontage requirements as well as the square footage requirements to add that additional dwelling unit. Again, that is why he's then having to apply for conditional use permit in order to establish and add that additional dwelling unit. You don't see a lot of these scenarios because another way to go about would be to legally split the lot and have, if you had 200 feet of frontage, you could just split the lot down the middle and have a cabin on one side and a cabin on the other. Or vice versa, if you had 100 feet of frontage and it was 400 feet deep, you could have a front lot and a back lot. So we usually try to steer people to legally split the lot as, to not go through the public hearing process. But on a unique scenario like this with an existing resort, you couldn't carve these out as their own little separate puzzle piece lots. So he's actually going to combine 3 lots into one with hopefully the granting of conditional use permit in order to establish an additional dwelling.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question.
Go ahead, Mr.
Jay, what about the septic systems on a resort like this and adding another dwelling? Is there enough room for, are these
There
holding
would
tanks
be.
or do they have
Yeah, and you would have to actually look at installing a new sewer system for this additional dwelling unit. There wouldn't be any chance of tying into the existing sewer systems out there. I haven't looked at the condition of the existing sewer systems out there. I know we had done a lake sewer survey back in 2009. And I do believe that they had passed back in 2009. So I have no reason to, just think that there's anything wrong with the existing sewer system. But again, this will require its own new system to be tied into.
thank you.
That's one of your conditions, isn't it?
It is.
All right.
That the sanitation requirements are met.
Jay, any more discussion? Okay, then need to entertain a motion to,
Mr. Chair, I will move to approve conditional use permit 2018, including the conditions as stated in the staff report.
okay,
And I will second that.
okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Kathy, can we have a roll call, please?
John. John. Troy,
Aye.
Tweed,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Ron.
Yes.
Check again.
Okay.
It still passes.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll just have it, it's record.
So you need finding of facts.
Yes.
It is compliant with all of our existing ordinances. It would not be damaging to the rights of others or property.
Now, we have to go back to 2017. We did not do the discussion action.
What is discussion action with the postpone?
Well, you did it under the public hearing. It was under that agenda item. And my apologies, guys, I think I need to wake up this morning.
Well, I thought like Jay did, I thought we could do it under that.
I don't know, it's out of order, but there was.
Yeah.
Right, that's to go out of public hearing. I'm
Everything
talking
was
about,
there, it was maybe in a slightly wrong order, but
this is on the agenda though for a discussion action, which you're also going to postpone, but I think you need to vote on that item.
the discussion action.
Action item.
Right, so you're going to postpone that to your date certain.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and that was motioned and voted on.
But under A.
Under public hearing, but not under discussion action item.
Right, so we all have this, the intent is there, but again, because of the way that it was agendatized, as I like the
All right.
word. So just,
To make this easier, I'll make that motion to postpone 2017 until the date, the next, there we going for the next, one.
But are we in discussion action now, or?
Yep.
should we need a motion
so you move,
to do that?
right, so you as chair essentially moved back to 3B.
3B.
Okay,
So
Yeah,
that's
so
what
then
you're-
I made the motion to
Mhm.
postpone.
all right.
Need a
So
second.
are we in this
Yes,
discussion?
yes, we are.
I didn't hear a motion to do that.
Well, you didn't hear a motion down here in the town of Edgewater neither, and you acted on it, so.
Oh, okay, well, shame on me.
well,
So what do you want us to do to get this simply done?
I like where.
We're going, today is just not a
Sorry.
good day.
It's the
So-
mask.
What do we need to finish up with 2017?
So do we need to make a motion to go into that?
You made the motion.
Right.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
So the motion is to postpone to
November.
November.
But I think what Bruce's action is asking is, we need a motion to go into the discussing action.
Oh, no,
Yeah, I didn't think so.
no.
All right, so if we don't need a motion to do it, why do we need another motion?
Because you need to vote.
We need to vote on it.
We didn't vote on it, was that it?
No, we didn't even go into it. We went right from public hearing down to the next one,
And
Mr.
have
Paul.
Ron Paulson to postpone until November, and I need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Right, Stan will second it. Stan and Ollie.
Okay, now we need a roll call vote on that.
Okay. Troy,
Aye.
Ron,
Yes.
Yes,
Pete,
Yes.
John,
yes,
Bruce,
Yes,
thank you.
Wonderful.
Let's get out of that.
You're right.
Yeah.
Moving on to proposed ordinance amendments, public hearing for the Sawyer County zoning ordinance.
We need, oh, I need that one, I'm sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry. I was making findings of fact. but-
Public hearing for the Sawyer County zoning ordinance amendment for section 220 definition, section 4.26, parent 4 for temporary guest quarters / bunk houses, section 9.21 land use permits, and section 9.24 general requirements. Proposed ordinance amendments are in reference to the temporary guest quarters bunkhouse ordinance. The list of the proposed ordinance is available on the Sawyer County zoning website. Again, this is the public hearing portion for this. I guess let's go into a public hearing first, and I'll end up giving a little bit more information.
Okay. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing for the zoning ordinance.
I'll move to go into public hearing for the proposed ordinance amendments.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We're in public hearing.
Yeah, so as part of the public hearing process, I do have some of the town responses back from the proposed ordinance amendments. I do not have all of the town responses back as of yet. Coudray is meeting on this next week. Also don't have the official signatures from the town of Sand Lake. And we did send information to the town of Winter, and they said that they didn't receive it, so they're going to be reviewing it again at their November town board meeting. As of right now, I have 11 for the proposed ordinance amendments and 2 against. Because I don't have all the information, and because the actual ordinance amendment language was not posted on the Sawyer County zoning website. It actually got posted the day after the publication was in the paper. So there was a 1-day gap as to where publication said that it was posted and hadn't been posted yet. I would make a recommendation that we postpone any discussion, or at least postpone any motion on this until next month, and then hold another separate public hearing on this, as to again give the towns another chance to review this, as well as any other concerned public members of the community that may have comments on this. Again, as of right now, 11 of the townships are for this, 2 are against, and there really wasn't any. I don't believe there was any comments submitted. Was there
This
comments?
is Round Lake. had one.
Strongly?
Should be able to-
Yeah. I remember now, is that correct?
But do you want to read those public comments now, or if we're going to postpone it, why don't we read them when we have the
Have
public
this.
hearing? Okay, well, so do we need a motion to postpone, or do you just accept your recommendation?
You would want-
We need a motion to postpone.
You would want to, yeah, and before that, you would want a motion, you want to ask the other, because if we are still in a public hearing, you want to ask if there are any comments from the public, then close the public hearing, then go into a motion to potentially postpone the discussion.
Okay,
Okay, is there anybody want to discuss this? When they want to talk on it? Go ahead, please.
Linda Zilmer, Edgewater property owner, and I do appreciate if you will consider postponing this till next month, because I think this whole thing about when it appeared on the website was, again, it was not in time for town discussion, so I think that's helpful if the public does care to participate, that they have access to the information. And it just was kind of interesting to attend the Edgewater Town Board meeting this week when they acted on this, because there was some discussion, although there wasn't comments, that we have an individual who helps write these things and then calls the towns to help, gather the votes as to how he wrote them. And I think we should memorialize that in the bylaws. That is, I'm sorry, trying to be humorous about it, but it is kind of frustrating that from the public side, a lot of this stuff is already done behind the scenes by the time it ever comes to public hearing. And I do think that this is something that deserves more consideration, even like next month, because this has been ongoing for a long time. And it really is a matter of rewarding what's been a total lack of regard for county ordinances, and it's rewarding bad behavior. Thank you.
Gee, there ain't no public on virtual, is there?
There was a hand just up, it looked like it just disappeared.
Okay.
AC Phil is online. I'm not sure if he has any comments at this point. I did have a conversation with him earlier this week and kind of informed him that it would be at least my recommendation that we would postpone any discussion action and hold another public hearing on this next month. So, Phil, do you have any other comments you'd like to make at this point?
No, just that probably this is one of the best crafted ordinances I've ever read, so.
all right.
Good. Okay, then we need a motion to either postpone.
Come on, public hearing.
We got to talk about it. I will come out of public hearing on the proposed ordinance amendment.
Why? Don't we have to, wait a minute, excuse me.
Would you like to sit up here?
Well, I'm sorry, I just, because of previous problem.
I mean, for somebody who is so on point with procedure, having an audience member participate as a committee member is not appropriate.
But
Chair, I give it to your discretion.
But
for the
my
record, that would be
comment-
appropriate.
don't we have to postpone it while we're in public hearing? Like we
You
did
have
the
to-
others?
Yes,
So why are we coming out in order to
But
do it?
we had the other one, we had to go back into discussion action and postpone it.
No, we did the public hearing. We postponed it in that, and we did not do the discussion action. We did not postpone it, and that's why we went back. So we have to postpone it while we're still in the public hearing.
correct. For each agenda item, you want to take a vote. And so if the desire of the committee is to postpone the public hearing, please speak, Linda. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
All right, let's
Let me finish.
go ahead.
For each agenda item, you should vote. So if the desire of the committee, I mean, as Jay stated, the public hearing should be
Postpone.
postponed.
Yeah.
So it's on the agenda. Take a vote on postponing. And if your other council would like to comment, please do so.
But then what do we do with,
If the chair would recognize.
oh geez.
Yeah, go ahead, recognize her. I want to hear what the legal advice is.
Okay, go ahead, Linda. Is today Friday the 13th?
It is. I'm just trying to get clear on the process because it has been confusing today. that traditionally, maybe because this is postponing, it's different, but maybe the explanation would be needed, is that the public hearing is opened, you take the comments, and then it's closed. So technically, there was a public hearing opened, and then after the public hearing is closed, then that's when you don't take generally comments from the public. The discussion then comes by the board. There's the motion to close the public hearing, then there's the motion to open it up for discussion action, which is, I thought, the process that would be followed, and that you would then make that discussion action item to postpone if that's your pleasure. So I'm really asking because it does seem to be out of order compared to previous months. Thank you.
I guess what I'm asking, and I'm still not clear on this, is I remember doing all the public hearings. And if there was a motion to postpone it, it had to be done in
Discussion action.
in the public hearing, and then we go down here into the discussion action and still postpone it in there, so we're doing both. Public hearing and a discussion action item are two different things.
Right.
So I guess, Rebecca, you tell me what to do here then.
Take a vote on each item.
Okay.
Well, wouldn't the vote for the public hearing would be to come out of public hearing? I mean, that's the only vote I've seen.
As long as you include in your motion in the discussion action that you want to hold another public hearing, and maybe that's where the confusion is coming from. So we are in a public hearing right now,
Right.
and we can either postpone the public hearing as an action item up here,
But-
or we can come out of public hearing and then use a discussion action to hold another public hearing next month. So we still want to hold a public hearing, and I don't
Right.
think it makes a matter which way you do it, as long as you either postpone a public hearing, then come out of a public hearing and postpone discussion action, or you close a public hearing, and then in your motion for discussion action, you hold another public hearing next month.
Right, I mean, because the agenda 4A we don't have any provisions for action. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so then we should just come out of public hearing, then take the action under discussion action, would be my view.
Usually how we've done it.
Okay.
Okay, I
I'll
mean,
move to come out of public hearing.
all right,
Proposed ordinance amendments.
Second.
okay. We have a motion and a second to come out of public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
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 I'll make a motion to go into the closed session discussion action.
Aye.
Okay.
Bruce, can I finish?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
No, okay, we need a roll call. All in favor, say aye to come out of public hearing.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
Aye.
now I hear, okay. We're out of public hearing. Now go ahead.
Now can I do, okay. Go
Discussion
ahead.
action for Sawyer County zoning ordinance amendment.
Okay. You gonna read the whole thing or should we, okay. Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to postpone until the November zoning committee meeting consideration of the proposed amendment, ordinance amendments,
And hold another public hearing.
and hold another public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call. Kathy?
Tweed,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
Troy,
Yes.
Ron.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys for getting through that. That was good. Good times. Where are we at here? 2021 zoning committee schedule for meetings, discussion, action on those dates. Let me get to them. Here they are. So this is what has been presented as part of oh, sorry, I skipped one.
I was
Let
gonna
me
ask
get,
about
sorry.
that.
Let me go back up. County administered uniform dwelling code inspections. So this is where you've been looking at having a county administered uniform dwelling code. To give I guess a little bit of a history, a little bit of background on this. The UDC requirements for Wisconsin on new 1 and 2 family dwellings kicked in back in 1979. at that time, the municipality had the option to either administer the code or give it to each individual town. So at that point in 1979, and frankly, there's not a lot of records dating back to that date as to what had occurred, but ultimately Sawyer County, gave it to the town's discretion on, okay, towns, you can handle your UDC requirements. So if the towns, still didn't want to have UDC, they would then be appointed a state UDC inspector. I believe there were a few towns that had initially gone that route, weren't too happy with the service that was being provided, so they ended up contracting with their own town uniform dwelling code inspectors as well. Once all the towns started contracting with the UDC inspectors, they all started having slightly different requirements depending on what town you were in as to what that uniform dwelling code inspector would be actually inspecting. So over the years, when you talk about the uniformity of the Wisconsin dwelling code across our town lines, there's not a lot of uniformity. So that was one of the reasons why we started looking into this to say, hey, what if we did a county administered UDC program where it would be uniform across county lines, where by having that UDC administered under the county, we could have additional enforcement with working more directly with those uniform dwelling code inspectors. And one other aspect I want to make clear during this whole process is we weren't, nor is there any intention on putting any of these town uniform dwelling code inspectors out. Right now we have 3 main uniform dwelling code inspectors in Sawyer County, one other that has just one township, Monty Adler's. I think he's your township, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. But the 3 main uniform dwelling code inspectors, if this was to ever, come into fruition, we would end up, still having contracts on a county-wide level to those individual uniform dwelling code inspectors. We're not trying to put anyone out of their livelihood or take away their income. So they really wouldn't be affected by this provision at all. It would really just be that instead of a contract with the town, they'd have a contract with the county, and it would also help potentially the zoning department having more close working communications with them, but also look at additional enforcement opportunities there. There was an individual member of this committee that is kind of spearheading a little bit of this movement, and if Mr. Paulson has any other communications or discussions he wants to make on this, we can certainly look into it. On the agenda item, we do have it up for discussion action with the potential of drafting a said ordinance as well as a resolution to look to see if, what towns would end up wanting to have a county administered UDC program.
So the action for today's meeting is just to approve drafting the ordinance?
Correct. Yeah, there is no ordinance that has been drafted
Right.
yet at this point. I guess I would want this committee to, make an action item at that point to say, yes, zoning department with help of legal counsel, proceed with drafting said ordinance as well as procuring the resolutions that would ultimately get sent to the towns. It depends. It's still yet to be seen as to how this all comes into, like you said, into fruition. If we only get 5 of the towns that want to do this, is it something that the county still wants to explore? If we get the majority of the towns, is this something that we want to explore? There might be some administrative powers that the county can actually force the towns to relinquish said uniform dwelling code requirements and powers. I don't know if we want to go that route, because then you're really kind of stepping on the toes of the town. So those are kind of some of the dynamics that we're working with here.
Okay. All right, so I guess from my perspective, I've tried to look at the budget impact of assuming responsibility for the uniform dwelling code. And at worst, it's going to be budget neutral. That would be after we would give the towns 10% of all of inspection fees. I mean, that's my concept is we would give the towns 10% of the inspection fees charged. And it's possible that the additional revenue we generate, we could be used for other zoning activities.
Sure.
I have more to say on it, but that's enough.
Well, you're welcome to say more, Mr.
No,
Paulson, if
I-
you would like.
No, not at this point. I thought Jay did a great job.
He did. And, you know, I'm in favor of this, so, you know,
Okay.
so I guess we need to act on it then.
Still discussion.
Still discussion.
In discussion, I will.
Okay. Anybody else want to talk about this?
I think we're in discussion already, Tweed.
Oh, okay. Well, I do, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'm.
Go ahead.
I'm also in favor of this, and I think this is another way, Jay, this would be something where we're an agent of the state then, similar to the water testing and sanitation.
Yeah, I believe that would be kind of how that would be viewed.
Right, so we would have a vested interest in putting this together, and we would monitor it closer than the state ever could.
Right.
And I like Bruce's idea of, at worst case scenario, it's budget neutral. It's probably gonna be a positive impact on our budget.
Probably.
And I think when we go to the towns with this, we confirm with them that we're gonna give you part of this fee that we collect.
Right, because as of
Right,
right
that should be
now,
huge. I mean, that would be a no-brainer in my
yeah, as
opinion.
of right now, the towns aren't receiving any type of compensation from their uniform dwelling code inspections. I mean, they're basically forced by the state to have the minimal requirements as to what the state UDC inspections would relate to, which is inspections on new 1 and 2 family dwellings. So that has to be done by the individual town. If the town doesn't do it, then they appoint a state inspector to come in and do it. So that's not the case here. The towns at least do the minimal 1 and 2 family dwellings. Where again, they're contracting with those uniform dwelling code inspectors and not receiving any compensation for them. They're just basically forced to do so because it's a state mandate. Where in a county administrator program, we could set a new contract where potentially some of those fees for the inspections would be slightly raised. And that with that slight raise of the increase on the inspection, some of that money would end up going back to the town. Some of that money would come back to help for additional enforcement at a county level. So the uniform dwelling code inspectors right now, they don't see any difference in it. You know, if it's $1,000 inspection, maybe an additional $50 goes to the town, and an additional $50 comes for additional enforcement on the county level. And really the only increase is to the person requiring the inspection, that their inspection fees would be raised slightly.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
We do have one additional hand raised.
Okay.
Phil, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Everything was said, and it's one of the few times that I have very little to comment besides what's already been said. Thank you.
Okay. So would a motion be in order, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I would, Mr. Paulson.
I would make a motion that we draft an ordinance with resolution to send to the town regarding the uniform dwelling code administration.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. I should do a voice one. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed. Motion carries to do the resolution.
Yeah, and we'll try to get that out for November. November's dates for next month are moved up that week for gun deer season, so we are a little front end in time. So if we can't get this out by November, we'll look at having it ready by December.
Okay.
Speaking of such,
When is zoning? The 13th?
13.
yeah,
Another Friday.
Friday the 13th.
Amen.
Which brings us into our next item, which is the approval of the meeting dates for next year.
Generate 19 pounds.
Okay. The 2021 zoning committee schedule for discussion action here, the dates as presented there. This would specifically be looking at the 3rd Friday of every month. We've always proposed this type of schedule for zoning committee. And then we always look at that special month of November. And again, in 2021, we look at the 19th of November, which would be the Friday before gun deer season. where again, we can try to roll with that. I know myself will not be present at that meeting. And if we want to move those dates around, we can certainly look at that, but it's up to this committee to decide.
Jay, I thought, last time we moved that November one, so we weren't getting in with the gun season.
We did.
I mean, this one coming up now in November,
It's
a week early.
It's a week early. Yeah, and this is how the agenda ended up getting posted. We specifically just took that third Friday. So I mean, if this committee always wants to have that Friday, November meeting moved up a week early, we can always start doing that, but usually we have that discussion about it depending on who the committee members are. You can certainly make the amendment to this schedule and change that November date to the 12th.
I'd like to offer that, Mr. Chairman, to change it to the 12th.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that, Mr. Olson. So, anybody else? They don't, virtually don't, they have that?
It will
Do
say
they have
it's in the
it?
packet.
Okay. So, Ms. Pettit and Mr. Morgan, are you okay with moving November in 2021 from the 19th up to the 12th?
Sure. Not a problem.
Ms. Pettit, can you hear?
Yes.
Are you okay with moving that up?
Yes, I'm perfectly fine. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm working two devices.
All right, thanks, Ms. Pettit.
Mhm.
So now we're gonna need a motion to change that, okay? Right?
Yeah. A motion to approve the dates with the change.
With the change.
I'll move to approve the 2021 meeting dates with the change that we discussed.
Agreed, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to change or to approve the calendar year 2021 with the November change from the 19th to the 12th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, motion carries.
Cool. Next item for new business, just any other new business that might come for this committee,
Okay.
which I don't know if we have any. And then we have other business that was still sitting out there to legally kind of get rid of this thing. We have a withdrawal request of rezone 20-006, rezone 20-007, and conditional use permit 20-013, and conditional use permit 20-014, signed by James Massey, owner of Hayward National Golf Club, Inc. I would be looking for a motion to accept the withdrawal of these applications so that we can, I guess, finalize that process.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to accept the withdrawal of zoning 26, 27, CUP 2013 and 14.
Okay. We have a motion out there. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second on the floor to withdraw the rezone. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, motion carries. Anything else? We're adjourned.
Good.
Fine.
Yeah, November, we're going to talk about campground.
Again, with the dates and it being moved up, I have had some conversations there with the potential individuals that may help draft that. We're looking at probably firing that up here December, January. I mean, campground season is pretty much done at this point, and as long as we get something in motion and spearheaded by April, I think we're good.
Right. I was referring to a specific campground.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We had conversations with him and our letters of correction out. He basically knows that if he does it again, the citation will be issued unless he applies for some type of special use permit and or rezones with a conditional use permit for licensed campground.
Okay.
If you'd like to discuss it further, we can put it on the agenda though.
I would like it on the December.
Yes, we'll discuss it.
November. Okay.
November, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right, perfect.
Good.
We'll have that on there. I will be sending the committee the additional webinar links for the, again, for the
Yes.
intro zoning
He doesn't have a chance.
webinar as well as the conditional use permit one. There is one scheduled for,
This summer there were
I
12.
believe it's about 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks, the 29th. That one's specifically more so for board of appeals and for variances, but if you'd like any of that additional information, I can certainly send that out as well.
All right.
There'll be one other one in November, which does again relate to zoning committee, and it's actually scheduled and structured for board session. So I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Okay. Well, we made it through. She got a little hairy at times, but we got it.
Yeah,
Thank
All right, thank you all. I'm going to end the meeting here at this point.
thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Yeah.
And I'm gonna go get a haircut.